In 1970, MGM and Elvis and the Colonel cut a deal to film some of his performances at the International Hotel in Las Vegas, or the Hilton, as it would become, and then today it is the Westgate. And the end result was a documentary feature film called That's the Way It Is, and it was accompanied by an album also called That's the Way It Is. With the exception of a handful of songs, most of these are studio recordings, not live recordings. There are a few live recordings on here, but in fact most of these are from a marathon of studio recordings that Elvis did in 1970 that arguably was better than the 1969 sessions in Memphis. I know that might be blasphemy to say, and I clearly love the 69 sessions, but I think the songwriting is actually stronger on the songs on this album. Bridge Over Troubled Water is the ending. I mean, that's the big finale of this album. These songs, if the Memphis sessions were an indication that Elvis was reaching for something that was a little more mature, this was him fully embracing that. Mary in the Morning is a particular song that I like off this album that Glenn Campbell had done a version, I believe, before Elvis, and Elvis's version was kind of took some influence from that, but it's not nearly as pretty as Elvis's version. There's just something about the way that he performs the songs on this, even though they're much more, like, he'd already been in Vegas for a year, and his stage band and the stage orchestra were very much, they had things figured out, and they were starting to get into the groove of things. They weren't experimenting as much. It was definitely a much more polished sound. In spite of that, these come off like a record that has been perfected to the nth degree. Whereas the 69 sessions were rough around the edges, and that was part of their charm, these ones are so superbly polished that I don't think they can necessarily even be better. This album works as a whole, and I would argue this is my tied with From Elvis in Memphis for like 1.5 favorite Elvis album, because it worked so well. How the Web Was Woven, 20 Days and 20 Nights, I just can't help believing. This is adult Elvis. This is Elvis not necessarily doing rock and roll. And this became a point of contention with many of his fans in the 70s, that he was the king of rock and roll, supposedly. That was the name that the media and his fans had given to him. And he was doing songs that weren't necessarily rock and roll. He was moving towards, at first it was more middle of the road pop, and then it became country music. And some fans took issue with that. But this is where we first start actually seeing that really start to take effect. But the effect is that this is a superb album from beginning to end. There is not a bad track on this album. Patch It Up is so much fun. You Don't Have to Say You Love Me, You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin'. Two of the best vocal performances in his career. Bridge Over Troubled Water, I get chills near the end of the song when his vocals go up and they almost like break. I get chills. Coincidentally, the songs in here aren't really reflective of what was in the film, and we'll talk about that when I get to reviewing this movie. In fact, I'm not really much of a fan of the original version of this movie. I actually quite hate that movie. Yeah, hate. I'm using the hate word for an Elvis movie. The 2001 re-edit, though, is my favorite Elvis documentary movie or biographical film, because it very much captures what Elvis was about. But the original 1970 version, not reflective of this album. This album is not reflective of that movie. And thank goodness, because this album is phenomenal. If you have not heard this album before, this is between the 1969, the two 1969 albums, and this are the definitive Elvis albums. And some people might take issue with that, because a lot of people are very defensive of the Sun stuff and his 1956 stuff. No. That stuff's all good. That's phenomenal stuff. World-changing stuff. You won't get an argument from me out of that. But if you want to hear a guy who is an artist who has reached his physical and vocal peak, and has found his creative groove, and has not lost the momentum, this is the album. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it sticks with him. So we'll deal with that in the next 10. This is number 40. So we will see you from 41 to 50, and we'll get through the rest of these albums. So that's the way it was. That's the way it is. And see you tomorrow.